Hello, everybody. Welcome to Asymmetric Investing. I wanted to jump on today and talk a little bit about Uber and Waymo and their announcement for a partnership, an expanded partnership. They already have a deal in Phoenix where you can get a Waymo vehicle through the Uber app in Phoenix. I think you can actually do the same thing in Los Angeles as well. But they expanded that to Austin and Atlanta, and the details are what's really important. So I want to go through a few of those. We'll do a quick little video here. But the big announcement is from Uber itself. And what they said here is that Uber in these two cities is going to manage and dispatch the fleet of Waymo fully autonomous vehicles. And these are going to be the Jaguar I-Pace vehicles. So this is going to be the old vehicle. You can see a little picture of it here. But the custom-made I-Pace all-electric vehicle. They have a custom vehicle, which is coming from Geely. I think it's going to be, they're testing that right now and potentially going to be launching that a little bit more later this year. But the big news is that Uber is operating this fleet. And I wrote about this yesterday on Asymmetric Investing. If you're not subscribed to Asymmetric Investing, check that out. Link is down below. There's also a link in the show notes to both the newsletter and the article that I'm talking about. And I'll just pull the article up here quickly because, again, I wrote this yesterday, but Uber's vision, and they had a conference last week where they talked a lot about this. Their vision is to be an aggregator in the autonomous vehicle market. So they're going to be the ones that has the supply or the demand, sorry, and they're going to connect that demand with supply in the market. They call it a marketplace, but I think I've talked about this as an aggregator. That's a term that Ben Thompson really started. And then also I talk a lot about the smiling curve, but that's another way to think about this, where if you're a winner in this market, it's a winner take all market, and being second place or third place is really a terrible place to be because you just don't have the demand structurally for your products. So let's look at some visuals that I put in this article. Hopefully this kind of helps out with how to think about this deal. This is Austin and Atlanta. So these are the two cities that this is specifically involved in. It seems like it's kind of a test for these two companies, but this is aggregation theory, and this is Ben Thompson's image. But basically the idea pre-internet was suppliers would, create a product and then they would answer their distribution problems themselves and deliver products to customers. With the internet, what you end up doing is you have these big platforms that become the distributor of supply. So you have basically every user in the world. Think of YouTube as a good example of this. Billions of users on YouTube. I can be a single supplier to YouTube, and they're going to handle that distribution for me. I don't have to reach each individual customer specifically, but with that being said, I don't have any specific power over YouTube as a platform. That's essentially what's happening in the autonomous driving market right now. Uber is the biggest platform. They have won over Lyft. So they've got the most suppliers because they have all the demand. Cruise and Waymo are coming in. They're becoming suppliers. That's the deal that Cruise announced a couple of weeks ago. Waymo is a supplier in Phoenix, now going to be a supplier in Austin and Atlanta. But they were also building their own apps at the exact same time. And that was going to be the question for me was, are they going to build sort of a dual demand structure where Uber is going to take some of their demand and then they're going to create some of their own demand, and you basically create a position for Uber where they may end up creating their own competitor because Waymo and Cruise, as they grow, some of those customers are going to be coming directly to Waymo and Cruise. So it's sort of a Trojan horse strategy, something that I've written a fair amount about on Asymmetric Investing. Uber can't do autonomous vehicles itself. It tried. It had, I think, the worst accident that we've ever seen in autonomous vehicles, and then they shut that unit down. There was also some IP theft issues, but that is something that they can't really do themselves. And so as a result, they have to partner with other companies, and that puts them in a much weaker strategic position. The reason that this was such an interesting announcement today is this sort of answers that question. If Uber is actually operating the fleet and Waymo is just becoming a supplier and it's just a technology company, then that makes a lot of sense for Uber. And Uber would love to have a dozen suppliers like that. What I'm going to be watching is this a Waymo specific thing? Remember, Waymo is owned by Alphabet. Alphabet is not traditionally very good at making a business for the technology that it builds. Think about something like, its Office products. Those are really just as good as Microsoft Word or in Microsoft Office products for most users, but they didn't really do any effort behind building a real business behind that. So this has always been the challenge with Alphabet is they can probably build the best technology, but are they going to be able to build the business model behind that technology? And one way that they can answer that is they can say, you know what, we're not even going to think about building a business model. We're just going to offload that to Uber in this case because they have all the demand. So we're just going to plug into that. Cruise may be in a different situation because we know that they're building their own ride sharing service. And so there's going to be customers who are going specifically to the Cruise app, at least as far as we know right now. It does not appear that that's an exclusive deal in the couple of cities that they have announced so far, but we'll see how that expands. As more and more suppliers come to the market, Tesla is supposedly going to be announcing something in October. Don't think that they will actually have a fully autonomous vehicle in 2025 the way that these two companies do. But if there's a dozen suppliers in autonomous vehicles and Uber has said that they're talking to at least 10 companies, then that would be great for them because they would love to white label that supply, if you will. So really interesting dynamic there. Uber stock is up on the news. One of the reasons I have shied away from Uber stock is partly because of the valuation and partly because you have seen this autonomous driving technology coming, and I don't think they're in a power position. But if we do have a dozen suppliers, they are going to absolutely be a winner in this market. So something to keep an eye on, and absolutely something that I'm covering here on Asymmetric Investing, whether you're following on YouTube or whether you're following on the newsletter. The other thing that I wanted to touch on really quickly is the announcement, or I guess maybe not an announcement, but the lack of an announcement between Disney and DirecTV. And they had basically made an offer to show the presidential debate on ABC through DirecTV, and DirecTV said no to that. And Disney, who controls ESPN, that's really the power player, is ESPN and ABC in their negotiations. They have said no to whatever DirecTV wants to pay them to distribute their content. The reason that this is such a big deal is because DirecTV doesn't really offer anything to future-proof Disney's business the way that something like Charter did last year, or Comcast, or even like a Verizon or AT&T. Those companies provide a way to distribute Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN over the top in the future. So that was part of the Comcast or the Charter deal. Was Charter got to include Disney Plus with ads, which is that lower price tier with their subscriptions. So they had to say, hey, you sign up for linear TV, we'll also include this streaming service. So that's good for Charter because they're able to say, hey, look, we're adding this streaming service, adding a little bit of value to what we're offering. And Disney gets to say, hey, we've got a few more subscribers to our streaming service, and we're maybe generating a little bit more money there. DirecTV doesn't have the same ability to provide any future value for Disney. I think that's really the linchpin here, is that they don't have that broadband service. So we'll see how this one plays out, but don't be surprised if this goes on a lot longer than expected. And if it does, I think this could really be the end of DirecTV. It doesn't have a future as a streaming service. It's just a traditional linear TV service, if you will. They lost NFL Sunday Ticket. Now they're losing ESPN and ABC. What good is this service? And it doesn't have a big subscriber base. So I don't see any huge bridge to the future there. They're going to have to pony up and pay ESPN just because they have no choice. They're going to have to raise prices on their customers, and that's going to cause even more customers to cancel. So just a really bad situation for DirecTV. But when you think about the strategic dynamics and why Disney is playing hardball the way that they are, it makes a lot of sense. So hopefully that's helpful. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about the Uber Waymo deal. I think this is something I'm going to be covering a lot here on Asymmetric Investing. And then Disney is obviously one of those companies I cover a lot because I think they're going to be one of the winners in streaming, in part because of ESPN over the top, which is still about a year away, but they got a ton of content for that right now. But leave those comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe here to Asymmetric Investing.